Welcome traders, David DeBay over at Polaris Trading Group. In today's video presentation, we're going to take an updated look at our PTG ATA, which stands for Auto Trade Assistant. We'll be focusing on the NASDAQ 100 Future NQ, and the sample replay trades today will be from trade date February 16, 2018. Chart type will be a Flex Renko on the Sierra chart platform. Before we get to the presentation, industry regulations require that we state the NFA compliance rule 2-29C, which basically in summary states that hypothetical performance results, many of which you'll see here today, have inherent limitations, and all trades presented should be considered hypothetical and not be expected to be replicated in your personal account. Trading futures and options on futures is speculative in nature and involves substantial risk of loss, and past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. So with those industry requirements satisfied, let's get right to the charts. Okay, so what you should be seeing here on the left hand side is our chart in question. It'll be the NQ, Flex Renko, and on the right hand side we're going to take a look at the actual trade activity log for February 16th, 2018, and the trade time will be in the equity session only from 9:30 Eastern Time through 4 p.m. Eastern Time on Friday, February 16th. So this is going to be in replay mode. I've already set it up to begin at 9:30. Okay, and what we'll do is I'll walk through it until we get to our first trade or two. I'll describe how the trade unfolds, what we're looking for, and then what I'll do is I'm going to speed up the chart replay mode. This way we can get through an entire day, and so you can see the statistics of how the day unfolded throughout the session. Okay, so let me start the presentation. All right, start play mode. So we're going to begin play mode. It's resetting the chart to 9:30, and we'll be starting in normal speed, which is basically one time. Okay, so we're starting at 9:30 Eastern Time here on Friday, again February 16. Now all these trade sequences did actually occur throughout the day on Friday, and I just want to run through the entire day to show you how well it did. Now I've recently added a new filter given the recent volatility that we've all experienced as of late, and I've added a new filter to help compensate for that type of volatility and to make sure that the signals are generated in the proper direction and adjusted for volatility. So with that, we'll just increase the presentation just a little speed here, and once we get to our first sequence, we'll pause the video so we can go over what we're seeing, and then that way we'll let the video run at faster speed in order that we don't take too much video time, but we get the message across for you guys. Alright, so what we're basically looking for is we're looking for a bullish condition, what we call a bull stacker condition, and that we have a trending type component. So we should be just beginning to generate one momentarily. This is early in the session on Friday. There we go. You see the background color beginning to turn kind of a grayish white. That tells us that there's bullish condition ongoing. All right, so let me stop the presentation right here, and let's walk through what you're seeing. Okay, so as I said, the whitish grayish background that you see tells us that the conditions are now favorable for an up move. Okay, and we have two ATR lines. The white line and the green line stands for average true range, and these are our proprietary calculations. Most platforms have ATRs built in. These are our own configuration. And then what you'll see here is as the oscillator comes down into what we call the discount zone, all right, at an extreme low, then it hooks back up. All right, it'll generate our signal. You'll see it on the price bar here, the white signal bar, and the auto trade we're set up. We have a $300 per trade risk. Again, that is user definable, and in this case we're using a 5-point stop, and as such it auto position sizes us at 3 units. So the entry price here is auto X'd at $97.50, and then what it does, it will automatically place exit orders. It'll look to sell 2 at what we call the risk free, so that's +5, and then we stage the next contract up at the target 1, and then if we have additional targets, there's target 2, and then all the way up to target 3, which is a 4 R value at target 3. Alright, so depending on how many contracts you have, it will automatically position size them and set it up. So from this point, what I'm going to do is I am going to let the presentation run, and we'll get a couple of the executions first out of this one, and then we'll let the presentation run at a little bit faster speed. Okay, before we continue on, what also happens is once price reaches the first target level, which is our risk-free 1R value, we have the stop is automatically adjusted to the entry. Okay, again, that is user definable as well. In this case, I've set it up so once we exit our first couple contracts, the last trailing contract will be entered and moved to the entry. So that's pretty much just somewhat from a risk management perspective. Okay, we don't want to give necessarily anything back should the market come all the way back down to the original stop level. So again, that is user definable. So we'll continue on and let the presentation run a little bit. Okay, so on the second contract, the third contract at the second target, all right, has been fulfilled. Now once that happens, the sequence, the algorithm begins to look for the next sequence. Okay, so that is basically what you'll see throughout the presentation. Now from this point on, I'm just going to run it in a much faster mode so we can get for brevity, and we can get the statistics on the right hand side, and you'll see as we go along how the statistics here will change until the end of the session. Okay, so I'm going to move it from a speed of 5 to about 60, and that will speed up the presentations much quicker. And again, it may be a little bit more difficult to follow. There will be losses throughout the day. There were definitely some losses, but overall we had a very good day with this. And again, with the NQ, the idea of using the Auto Trade Assistant before we continue is simply to help you execute a trade in very kind of robust and fast markets. The NQ recently has been moving around very quickly, as many of you clearly know that have been trying to trade it, and sometimes it's very difficult to be able to enter into a trade effectively. The goal here of the Auto Trade Assistant is it searches for a specific set of criteria. There is momentum associated with the signal, so we're in on the correct side of the momentum, and we're in at an effective price after the market has pulled back, all right, to a structural level, and then has begun to reverse back in the primary direction. That is the entire goal of getting in on a directional move after a pullback. So the Auto Trade Assistant does it quite efficiently, and using the automation that many of the platforms provide for us today, that's what the Auto Trade is simply all about, is to help us get into a trade. So the ATA stands for Auto Trade Assistant, and again, the operative word there being an assistant, helping us out and doing the work that we want, that we perhaps manually could not do as effectively. All right, so the video is going to run for a little bit, and please stay with us. All right, and we'll run through the video as quickly as possible so we can review the stats at the end. Thanks. And the mic currently will be off while that occurs. Thanks, everybody. Okay, so that is the end of the day here at 16, roughly 15. All right, so that is the completion of our trade sequences for Friday, February 16, 2018. All right, so if we take a look over here on the right hand side, again, these were representative trades for Friday throughout our trading session, and as you can see here, it actually performed quite well. Now again, keep one thing in mind: the volatility has increased. All right, we have some very good trade action in the NQ. Again, every day is not going to be as typical as today, but today's presentation and Friday's action was a very good representation of how the auto trade assistant is designed to function. All right, it's designed to stay in direction of the trade, of the whatever the swing is happening at the time. It is looking for specific criteria. In essence, we're looking for pullbacks within the context of an upper or downtrend. And once that criteria is met, it will place and auto X the trade. It will auto position size. It will auto place your exit and stops, and it will also auto trail on your stop to the break-even point. Okay, many of these trades, even in normal speed, now this was multiplied a number of times for brevity for the video, but for even in normal speed during the day, it's very difficult to be able to catch many of these trades manually because they do move very quickly in the NQ, as many of you know. So the auto trade assistant was primarily designed in cases such as this to help execute, have the automation that we are all available to us on many of our platforms today, and to help assist us. All right, so that's the idea. Now, again, this was never designed necessarily to be a black box. All right, in practice, what we typically will do is we will enable the algorithm, the auto trade assistant, and disable it throughout the day as the market conditions change and vary. We want to primarily be on, turn it on when the market is beginning to develop into a potential directional move. If prices are trading around the midpoint of the day, right, the VWAP, and the market is kind of flattish at that point, we typically would not turn the auto trade on at that point. We would have it disabled. So these, the reasons why we would turn it on and turn it off are all covered in our educational material on the tool. But do bear in mind, this is not a black box, never was designed to be, but it was designed to help assist us to get into trades based on very specific criteria. Okay, so many of you have difficulty assessing, should I be into a trade, should I not? The criteria is already laid into the coding, okay, in the filtration. It does stay in alignment with the trend, and it will not counter trend trade in any way. It does not seek to try to buy the low or sell the high. It does, its intent is to get onto a trade as early as possible with the proper conditions. Okay, so just taking a quick look at the stats, and again, these are hypothetical in terms of presentation, but they are representative of how the algorithm potentially would perform. Clearly, your personal results would not necessarily have matched this, but it does offer a insight into into how the algorithm and the auto trade assistant performs, okay, under certain conditions. So you can just naturally take a look. A couple of the things that I like to look at is the profit factor, all right, to see how robust the system is. And you can see here on the long trades today, we had a 1.70 profit factor. So basically for every dollar, it made 70 cents. And the short side actually was the best performing here. It was six and a half times. All right, so that very well, but the average profit factor here is 2.5. which is obviously very robust. Okay, it took a total of 73 trades. Now again, that is quite a number of trades throughout the day, but again, it was done automatedly, and the system just just did its thing. Okay, now normally we would not have been able to take 73 manual trades such as this. So again, take these results obviously with a grain of salt. Think about it as an insight into the potential for how the auto trade assistant works as an overall. Okay, we had very good percentage return here, about nearly 80%. And again, some of you may be questioning whether or not that's typical. All right, again, today was probably an exceptional day in terms of overall action. So again, you can use that with some interpolation. All right, involved. The average net profit, it was $42 per trade on average. And again, the short side performed much better. And winning trade average was $87 versus, and you get a profit factor of 0.67 on that. Largest winning trade was 210. Largest losing trade was 6. But again, we had a number of winning trades, beyond the losers, and again, overall profit factor. So we did get stopped out on a number of trades, but overall it performed quite admirably. And again, it performed pretty much how I have designed it. All right, so if you have any further interest in it, thank you for watching the presentation. And if you have any further interest in learning more about the Auto Trade Assistant and whether or not it can help you in your own trading, please contact me at david@polaris-trading-group.com, or visit us www.polaris-trading-group.com, request a trial, and come in and see what we do. And again, we use the Auto Trade Assistant on a daily basis. So I want to thank you for your attention, and we shall see many of you in our trading room. And to all, good trading, and thanks very much for your attention. Bye-bye.